Assalamu alaikum. Sulman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of seven seals. In the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, who raised up his messenger, Elijah Muhammad, to prepare the way for the Messenger of the Covenant, Sulaiman. This is the Resurrected Nation of Islam, May 2022. Welcome, brothers and sisters. Let's bring in our audience. A little technical difficulty here. Brothers and sisters, see if I can resolve this quickly. Just quickly. What this is. Hey, boss, I'm not sure what this is here. What is this? One second here. Refresh. It's not me. One second, brothers and sisters, there's a little technical difficulty here. Okay. Let's start again. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we resolved it. Okay, this is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, again, Sulman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the seven seals, the Resurrected Nation of Islam. This is a special broadcast. I put it off to today because I wanted to follow up on a series I've been working on, Electric Wisdom. So I'm going to try to fold that up today. Cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Might be a little complicated for some people. I'm gonna cover some of the things I've already talked about. So if you just look at it slowly, look at it a couple times, you'll probably understand it. It's really not that complicated. But if you're not familiar with some of the concepts, it may be a little daunting at first. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's move on to the presentation. First, of course, hold on here. See. We're always going to remind you. Always going to remind you. We're never going to let our enemy forget the Holocaust. They're desperately trying to forget it. They're desperately trying to sweep it under the rug. Desperately trying to pretend it never happened. Because if they admit to the Holocaust and all those horrors, everything they say, they've been saying is bullshit. They have to shut down all the stuff they've been saying. That's why I need people like Farrakhan around to give them cover. He gives them cover for political affairs. Because if he was teaching Elijah Muhammad's teachings, they cannot go to the United Nations and tell people, we're for civil rights, what they call human rights, and blaming other people and debating other countries for human rights, when they got the worst human rights record in history, ongoing. They need somebody like Farrakhan to say, oh no, everything's cool, we want 6 states, reparation, we're not going anywhere, devils ain't devils anymore, and all that kind of stuff. We're on to him. He's a chief demon. He's exposed. He's about to be disposed. The Holocaust. 400 plus years, nearly 5 years of abject terror. To maintain a system like Holocaust, it takes extreme terror. This is a terrorist nation. They don't want to talk about that. It didn't happen. They didn't say, oh, y'all, please let us burn y'all. Y'all, please let us rape y'all, right? I hope you don't mind if we, sodomize you, right? No. Absolute terror. 24/7, 365, 400 plus years, nearly 500 years. Absolute terror, the Holocaust. They want to cause slavery. And most of you go along with it. All you have to do is look at the definition of slavery and see if it covers these pictures you see in here. Those of you seeing it visually. See if it covers any of that. See if it covers rape, murder. Oh. See if it covers any of that. See if it covers any of that. See? Because slavery is the economic system. Slavery is going on today all over the world. It's going on at Walmart. It's going on at McDonald's. It's going on at Kentucky Fried. See? It's going on at all of them. See? I mentioned McDonald's already. It's going on all of them. Burger King, Walmart. Because they're not paying you what you earn because they take a profit. They have to pay you less than what you earn. That's how they make their profit. So the less they pay you for what you do, the more profit they make. That's what capitalism is all about. And that's what slavery is all about. The maximum profit, minimum overhead. So they had to give you something. That's the overhead. They had to give you something. They had to feed you. They had to give you something. They gave you shit to eat. Stuff that they used to throw away when they killed the hogs. They said, hell, we ain't going to throw that away anymore. Let them eat it. And you was eating shit. And a lot of times they didn't even take time to clean it off. Most of the time they didn't. If they cooked it all, they boiled it all together, the shit, and that's what you ate. They fed it to you in trowels. You didn't sit down with a plate and a fork and stuff. No, you're just like an animal eat, like a pig eats, they put it in a trough. And these pictures out there, and y'all, both of y'all like Oprah, so talk to her. She put pictures out there. So that's one thing she did, right? That I give her credit for. Not too much else. Anything else, actually. You understand? That's what they did over 40 some years. And now you got these Negro butts. We understand the demons. That's masters, black-faced children. We understand what they're doing because they love masters. They don't care nothing about you. They're enemy to us. They're cancer to our nation because the angel tells us Revelation, or you call it Apocalypse or Revelation, tells that half of the blacks in America are terrorists or demons, devils, black-faced children, and half original people. See, but they turned original people into narrow Negro butts. See, 400 years ago, it took 64 years to do it, to transform you from Kunta Kinte into Toby, right? To obey master no matter what, right? Not to think, you definitely couldn't think. See, not to ask questions, do whatever you're told to do, and be self-destructive. That's where you're programmed, and they have a terror bus to stand. Make sure you stay programmed constantly. That's what they do. Make sure you stay programmed. Because you get out your programming, you start ask questions that know something wrong with your programming. And they branded you. See, Toby Richardson. That wasn't a name, it was a brand, because he's owned by Master Richardson. If he sold you to Master Blackstone, you became Toby Blackstone. But now you walk around those names, because that's one of the ways they know that you're still programmed. Because you still walk around with the program name. That's a robot name, Negro butt name. So you still walk around with that name. Like, you look in the car, see Nissan, that means it's made by Nissan. All of them have Nissan on it. If he had 100 slaves, all of them was named Richardson. If Richardson had 100 slaves, 1,000 slaves, all of them was named Richardson. So how was that a family name? So you say, hey, that car is made by Nissan. That car is made by Toyota. See? Oh, that's Richardson. That's made by the devils. See? He's a product of the devils. You see? The Negro butt. Because you change that name on Sunday side, what's going on here? And the terror bus in the find what's going on with you. And still going on now, and that's when you still program, but your program is about to come to a screeching halt. Because we're going to disrupt your programming. See, what do you call it? You're going to have, they're going to short circuit your programming. I'm going to do it in a few more days. Just watch. In a few more days, your program short circuited, and then you're going to upload your real mind. Because they gave you a false mind, an anti-mind, mind that was against you. And it said your mind had to be returned in the book of Mark, and down in another place said your mind had to be returned to you. It was taken from you. The Holocaust, they're trying to say it's slavery. That was a small portion of what was going on, right? That's the economic part. But 99% of it was horror, 24/7, 365, 20 years, no let up. 24 hours. Constant terror. Constant terror. And like I said, they have to use terror to maintain. And who was their instruments of terror? What you can now call the police force. And these demons and the preacher. See? He was there to preach terror to you. Obey master. Don't disobey master. Because if you disobey master, they get an ultimate terror. Because you're going to go to hell forever and ever and ever. That's the ultimate. That's they say verbal abuse is worse than physical abuse. How can you be more verbal abusive than that? It tells them they're going to go to hell forever without end, torture, day and night forever. And there ain't going to be no day. It's going to be total darkness forever and ever and ever. Torture if you don't obey master and let master do whatever he wants to do to you. And the more he hurts, the more he harm you, the more you should love him. Now, if that's not terrorist teaching, what is it? It's telling you to love terror, love to be terrorized. Pray to be terrorized. Because the more they terrorize you, the more chance you get to heaven, right? To run to the next terror master. See? Because you get up there, you're still going to be a slave. And you first going to ask you, how were you a good slave for master? Brothers and sisters. So, Holocaust. It was no theory. But they have to do what they're doing, because if they admit to this, the whole thing falls apart. See? Because who was the author of this? The Christians. They didn't understand the banner of Christianity. They said, no, you got this lying, stupid, ignorant, cause on it. Christianity was the greatest force of human rights in history. And Christianity is the one that frees the slaves. Really? Well, who imprisoned the slaves? See? Who put us in the Holocaust? And that's a lie anyway, because slavery wasn't about freeing us. about slave labor and competition for it. That's what it was about. And nothing to do with our freedom and love of us. So they have to, because then they kept going around the world talking human rights and lecturing everybody. And they got 400 plus years and still ongoing of Holocaust, the worst horror in the world. No nation ever came close to anything like this. Not even close. And they want to call it slavery. That's like calling rape, right? Rape, a sexual encounter. Well, we had a sexual encounter. And you viciously raped her. We had a sexual encounter. Sick people. But you have to dismiss it because you have to elevate yourself to be this good, clean people that you stole this land. You don't own anything because everything you got, you stole, even by your own law. So you don't own any damn thing. You're poor people. You have nothing. Everything you got is stolen. And you're guilty of genocide, which is no statute of limitations. That means your punishment is death. And then he's guilty of destroying a whole nation of people. They go out to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's exactly what you did coming out of the Dark Ages 500 years ago. You was the one in the Dark Age in chapter 20, but read it again. That's you. So let's move on, brothers and sisters. The Holocaust. So we can move on to electric wisdom. That's what we want to talk about, brothers and sisters. Let me see here. Okay, that's one. This one. Okay. Now, what I mean by electric wisdom. Okay, I'm going to go over and hold on, brothers and sisters. This one here. I'm going to go over some things I've been covering for the last couple of days. Because you need to understand, because we deal with the mathematics here. See, Islam is mathematics, Islam. So says Elijah Muhammad. And so I agree to 100%, because that's what it is. Because there was no such thing religion probably 50,000 years ago. Probably 35,000 years ago, actually. It was just, that's the reality. See? But they, they claim they would, but they don't talk mathematics. They don't know any mathematics, but they lie. And these guys come out, well, I know Islam. Well, explain the mathematics of it then. If they can't explain the mathematics, tell them to take a hike. Short one off a short clip, right? Get the hell out of my face. Them can't tell you the mathematics behind it, then tell them to shut up. Because if Islam is mathematics and mathematics Islam, they must know the mathematics of it. But otherwise, they don't know anything. They can talk all this rhetoric and philosophy. That's not mathematics. And these clowns do not talk mathematics. They might talk some numerology. Well, 3 means this and 7 means that. That's not mathematics. That's bullshit. So it's about lack of wisdom. I'm going to walk slowly through some things I've covered. And I'm going to go into some things that I haven't covered. And those are going to be a little more complicated. And bear with me, brothers. It's going to be a little more complicated. Right? But you have a chance to go back and review it. Right? Those of you in the audio audience, right? If you want to view this, I always include the link in the description. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. Well, let me move myself out of here. You see me for this here, and here. I'm broadcasting both on Facebook and YouTube for those of you that are watching the video audience. And I'm also doing a podcast. Okay. Now, this is basic. Like I said, I'm not going to like the details of physics. I'm just showing you the basic. I mean, this is how things work. I'm giving you a general idea. I'm not saying this analogy, no. This is how things work. Well, I'm showing you. I'm just showing you in general. I'm not going to say, well, it's 3 inches and 5'3" this many newtons, and it weighs. I'm not going to that kind of stuff, right? I mean, to a torque value, and I'm just showing you the general idea how these things work. And this is I'm showing right now. I'm going to show you how electricity works. Now, what you see is you see these red dots there. They represent protons, right? And that's not the way protons look. They represent protons, right? And the black ones, they represent electrons. That's not the way electrons look. And the potential they give electrons is not the way it looks either. See, I can show you how electrons look, but that's not the point of this presentation. So what happens is that there's like a string of pearls, right? So here you got these protons. Each proton has one electron. Now they can have two, but each one has normally just one electron. One electron. And those neutralize because one's a positive charge and one's a negative charge. And so that neutralizes it. So it's neutral. It's happy. See? When it's like one proton, one electron, it's happy. That's called that's the simplest atom anyway. That's a um, hydrogen atom. The simplest atom. The next one is helium, which is two protons and two electrons. Anyway, that's the simplest one. So this represents how electricity works. One proton has one electron. Each proton has an electron. So they're like in a circle, right? I'm putting a circle. Don't necessarily have to be that way. But eventually, yeah, it is a circle. To make this work, it has to be a circle. So let's go and look a little further. Now, what we do is we're going to remove one electron. See, I just remove one electron. And this is what happens when you do that. What happens? Okay, this is what happens. What happens is that when you move one electron, then it becomes, remember, it's neutral when it has one proton, one electron is neutral. But when you take an electron away, it's not neutral anymore because then it's positive. Because it doesn't have a negative, neutralize it. So neutralize it because that's what it wants to be. It wants to be neutralized. So it's take electron from the next proton, see, to neutralize it. When it does that, then that proton doesn't have electron. So it takes from the next one, and so forth, so on. So then you get a circuit. You get that's what's called a circuit, right? You get a flow, current. That's a current. See? So now the electrons moving around, they try to satisfy all the protons, but there's only 3 electrons and 4 protons. So moving around circles, trying to satisfy, neutralize all of them. And they can't neutralize them, so just keep moving around, moving around, moving around, moving around. Now let's go and see what happens if you have this situation. So now say if you take 2 electrons away, what happens then? There you go. Now it's moving very fast. You increase the current. See, now it's more intense, right? See, the current is increased. See? Because now they got to move faster to neutralize them. Because they only got 2 to 4. Move 3 is even faster. Okay? Hold on, sisters. That issue here. Excuse me, boss, just for a minute. Mm-hmm. Boss, just for a minute, please.
Right.
Second here, brothers and sisters. Got a technical difficulty here. Here, brothers and sisters, solve the problem. 1 second. As I was saying, if you took all three away, if you took all electrons away, you wouldn't have any current at all. See? You're totally positive, but there's no electrons, so you're going to have motion. That's how they increase, right? The current. I make more electricity, so you get a greater current. Okay? Hope you understand that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And that's where electricity works. That's exactly how it works. That's why when you have a socket, you have like two plugs you stick in, because one's positive, one's negative. So one side has electrons, one side just have protons. And so the protons don't have any electrons. So once you do that, you complete the circuit. So now all the electrons can get to the protons, right? So you complete a circuit. See? That's how you get that current. And the same thing with like a battery. Yes, you have plus and minus. See, so the minus side is where the electrons are. At least that's what they say. And the positive side, either way, is where the protons are. I would think it's the other way around. Anyway, either way, one's on one side, one's on the other side. So once you plug it in, then you complete the circuit, because now it can flow around, right? But what happens is when you have both sides neutral, that's when the battery dies, because there's no current, because it has to have all the protons on one side, all electrons on the other side. But now remember, the electrons are moving to the proton side. So now start neutralizing those protons. Once those neutralized protons get neutralized, there's no current anymore. That's why the battery is dead. That's why you have to charge your phone. Because when you charge your phone is that battery in there, they take, because the batteries take all the electrons that got over to the protons, neutralize them. So now you have no current. What they do, then when you charge it, all they do is take and separate the two again. See? They separate the two again. That's what's going on. And the more you use it, that means the more you use the phone, the more current you have. So that means you neutralize it faster. That's why you got to charge more often if you start streaming all kind of stuff, right? Because you're increasing the current, using up more of it. So in other words, you have in other words, you have a certain frequency. In other words, I'll put it like this way: you have electrons on one side and protons on the other side, right? So if you're using a lot of stuff, it means you're increasing the current. That means more electrons are getting to the protons. So that means it neutralizes them quicker. So now you got to charge more often. Hope you understand. So what does this have to do with us? Well, that's a lot, because our enemies, the devils, are ruling the planet with mathematics. Not with Christianity. They did it under the banner of Christianity, but they rule the world with mathematics. Every religion, because they're all forced to begin with, to their knees, including Christianity, right? With mathematics. Every religion on this planet is bowing down to mathematics. They're not bowing down, they're in submission. Even the Sunnis, right? Because they use computers, they use all these things that came out of mathematics. Didn't come out of their idea of Islam. It didn't come out of Hinduism. It didn't come out of Buddhism, because they follow those principles, and nothing will come into existence from it. You cannot bring a vehicle that operates on Buddhist principles into existence. You can't bring a plane that operates off Hindu principles into existence. You can't bring a computer that operates off Christian principles into existence, because they're all fake. They're all philosophies. They're out of touch with reality. See? And when they got in touch with reality, which is mathematics, they became powerful, because now they tapped into God. See? See, they love God, they just don't love to obey him. They love the power they get from him, but they don't want to obey him. See? But they only tapped a little bit. See, they ain't tapped in full force. We the only ones can do that. That's why they had the angel as proof, because they had the book of Revelations that taps right into the heart, to the mind of God, because this is the mind of God. It's your mind that's been restored to you. They couldn't touch it, couldn't get anywhere near it. Plus, they got those planes flying around, Master Muhammad got those wheels flying around, and they can't touch it, can't get anywhere near it. See, they touch into basically the foot of God, if that much. But they're still powerful, because all these other religions, they were false. They had no power. And that mathematics revealed that they had no power. The power they had was over your mind, right? The false mind they gave you to deceive you to think they had power. And all the imams and priests and all these people, right? They claimed that they was the intermediate between you and that God that they telling you about. And so now they had power of you, because Shiva told me do this. Buddha told me do that. Jesus told me do this. He ain't told me do a damn thing. See? And you go keep buying it. They can't prove none of that shit they talk about. None of it. Oh, you said that. They can't prove none of this shit they've been talking about. That's what it is. What else you gonna call it? Manure. Put some perfume on it. It's shit. And they can't prove any of it. And they don't like what I'm saying. Then prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove that any of that stuff was real. Show me one example. Show me bring some out of existence. Oh, what? I was praying for a car. I came up. Did it come up in your driveway? Did this pop up? Or did you have to go to the dealer and get permission, get a credit check, and pay a down payment? So where'd you get the car from? Because if it came direct from God, then why you got to go to the dealer to get it? And how come it's not? Why is it operating on? Why it's not operating on your God's principles? Why is it operating on mathematical principles? This is no bullshit zone. Take that crap someplace else. Mathematics is only true religion, if you want to call it religion, in existence, because it brings things into existence with it. You bring things into existence that wasn't in existence with mathematics. You can't do any of those religions. You can pray all you want to. Ain't nothing gonna pop up out of somewhere, some 10th dimension, operating off those principles. It ain't gonna happen. And every so-called religion on the planet is a subjection to mathematics. And those Sunnis over there, they said, well, nothing happens without the will of God. They don't believe that. Because they did, then why are they fighting so much? Because everything's happening, it must be God's will. So why are they resisting? Why are they resisting? When they send one of these mathematical cruise missiles up their ass, why don't they say, all praise be to Allah? It couldn't happen unless it was Allah's will. So they're against Allah's will. One thing they can throw back is the Quran and some beads or something. Because they don't understand the Quran. The Quran is a mathematical book. It's not this philosophy you talking about. You don't understand where you say it all backwards. It says Suleiman will come to put down all religions. And stupid dogs don't have religion, and they stupid, right? Cows don't have religion. Lions don't have religion. Horses don't have religion. Bears don't have religion. They're smarter than us. No, because they're in sync with you in creation. They're in sync with the creation. And so are we. We are the creation. But move on, brother and sister. Anyway, see this right here? This is just a little segue here. This, you see, one is going clockwise, one is going counterclockwise. That's the way magnets work. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this is also male and female, because they're equal, right? Both 180 degrees, right? Because they come together, it can be a circle, 360 degrees. But one is positive, one is negative. And by that, they can come together. But both of us positive, like two males, they shouldn't be coming together. And two females, they probably should be coming together. That means that they do come together, something's wrong there. I'm not going to go into details, but I explained it in my previous presentation. I'm not going to talk about it right now. Anyway, let's move on. See here? How they come together? Male and female come together as one. See? Everything's in sync. See? Okay, let's move on. Okay, now here we go. We're going to get some little more complex stuff here. Now see here, this is where a magnet works. Now on one side, you have the electrons going in the same direction. Other side, they're going same direction, but opposite direction. See where the arrow's going? See how it's turning? See? But they're flowing, right? They're not flowing around the circle. They're flowing around. Okay, you see the four dots on top, right? And they're also flowing around the four dots on the bottom. You can't see the four dots bottom because they connect together by that one dot in the middle, right? So you see what you see. You see 4, you see 7 there. The one in the middle is actually 8, but they connect in the. So in other words, it has a flow like instead of you seeing the dots going around the circle, they're going around a circle around those 4 dots. And the same thing at the bottom 4 dots. But they're going the same, right, same direction, they're in sync. And the other one doing the same thing. But they're going the opposite direction. That's what happens with a magnet, because what happens is that one's positive. In other words, if you have a magnet that has a positive and negative side, you have another magnet's positive and negative side. Right? So if you put the positive and negative together, they're all going the same direction. They're coming together. They're coming together. But if they're going in different directions, right, they're going to oppose each other. And we're going to show that. So I hope this is not too confusing for you. We're going to show that. See? Now, if you have a magnet, just a piece of steel, see, that's a different situation altogether, because it's not going to oppose it. But what's happening is that magnet, you have the electrons flowing. See, the magnet has to be the same thing as electricity. It has to have, maybe I should explain that. Okay, here your magnet, say the magnet has 1 million protons. We're going to have 500,000 electrons. Then you got a current. We're not talking about a wire, we're talking about a piece of metal. You got a current. So the electrons are flowing outside the magnet on one side, always like going in a circle. So it goes outside the magnet on the right, but it goes around to come back in the magnet on the left. It goes like in a circle. So in other words, like I said, you have a piece of metal, and electrons are going out, it's flowing outside the electron, I mean the piece of metal on one side, and it goes around the circle, come back, right, like in a loop on the other side. So now you got a current. See? It's like it's the same thing as electricity. Because you have less electrons, because if you have the same amount of electrons as protons, nothing's going to happen. That's that piece of steel. Piece of steel is not a magnet, because all it has many electrons, it has many protons, so it just sit there. Okay? But then you take some electrons away, then you turn it into a magnet, because now it has a current. See? And so why a magnet attacks steel? Because remember, the magnet has less electrons than it needs to have. It wants to have. So you got 1 million protons, but you only got 500,000 electrons. But now you got a piece of steel here, it's got 1 million electrons and 1 million protons. Remember, this piece of magnet, it has 500,000, whatever, let me say it right. You got 1 million protons and 500,000 or 500,000 electrons, right? So you got 500,000 electrons you need. But then this piece of steel over here, it has 1 million electrons and 1 million protons, so it's neutral. So what happens is if you put them together, the one that has electric And with that still, remember, it's not. It's going to take either way. If you put it positive or negative, it's still going to attract it. It doesn't have the problem if you try to put two magnets together that has on positive sides. What happens is now it has another source for electrons. So it started taking electrons from that. It started taking electrons from that piece of steel. That's why it pulls it to it. Because remember, it's deficient of electrons by 500,000. So it started pulling this, and the steel is not going to let go of its electrons. Hold on to them. That means it pulls the whole piece of steel over. The protons on the steel is not going to let go its electron, so it won't get a flow. It won't see the current. So since it won't create a current, since it's holding on to its electrons, then it's going to pull the whole piece of steel to it. And then once it connects that magnet, then it becomes a magnet itself because now its electrons are flowing through the magnet and through the steel. So you can take a piece of steel and it'll work as a magnet as long as it's connected to the magnet. Hope you understand that, bro. So I hope that wasn't too complicated. Let me go over the slide here again. You can when you have if you have a piece of steel, if you take half the electrons away from it, or it's any amount of electrons, the more you take, the more intense the current is. So if you could take 90% away, that'd be intense current. Take 50%, that's heavy. You take 25%, that's still a magnet. It won't be that strong, right? But now you got a current because now all electrons are all the protons trying to get the electrons from the other protons. So now you got a current. And that's what happens. They're going to seek harmonic motion because they all collide with each other. And so that's mathematics. When you have a lot of collisions, it's going to try to seek harmonic motion, which it does. So now you got a flow. You got a flow because all the protons are trying to get electron to neutralize it, but there's not enough electrons to neutralize all of them. They start current. See, and the less electrons there are to the proton, the greater ratio, the greater the current. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. The way it works. See, a piece of steel is not magnetized because it has as many electrons as protons. There's no current. But if you connect to a magnet, magnet's going to take some of its electrons away, and it's going to create a current. So you have a current now. Once they're connected, right? Then the steel becomes a magnet too. As long as they connect to that magnet, because now you got the flow going through both. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand that. I just want to show that. So in this case right here, right? So I'm showing now the direction. The one on the left is going towards the left. The one on the right going towards the right. You see? So therefore, they're opposing each other. They're opposing each other. Okay? One's going left, one's going to the right. I'm showing from this point of view. This is what happens. See, you see, the electrons are colliding. They're opposing each other. So we push apart. Push apart. See? Oh, hold it. I didn't do it over here. Hold on, brothers and sisters, for a minute. Hold on, brothers and sisters, for a minute. Hey, brothers and sisters, back. That's what I was showing here. Did I show that? Oh, no, I didn't. Hold on. Okay. So they're opposing each other. Okay. So that's what happens when you put a positive together, two positives together, two negatives together on a magnet. They're going to oppose each other. Okay. Because the currents are going in two different directions. Okay. So they're like two ways push, one going north, one going south, to push against each other. See, they're going to have a conflict. Okay, so let's move on here. Here's a situation where they're going in the same direction. Okay. So all the electrons go in the same direction, right? So what happens here? They pull together. Everything is in sync. So magnets work. I told you about electricity. I'm trying to how magnets work. Hope you followed that. Because everything, no collision, they all go in the same direction. Essentially, they're essentially one magnet. Right? Once they're connected like that, current is going the same direction, right? Like a circle. It's going outside the magnet on the right, so to speak, and turns going around the circle outside the magnet and come back in on the left, right? Current keep that, as long as that happens. But if one is going from clockwise, right? So in other words, one's going, you have one on the right and one on the left, right? And one on the left is going from, well, maybe I shouldn't say it because you need a visual. I explained it earlier, but let me see if I can explain it a little better. Just verbally. You got one on the right, right? So its electrons are going out from the right, going around the circle, and going in. Oh, I'm not saying it wrong. Right and left. Okay. You got the one on the right. Electrons are going out from the left, out to the left of it, right? Going around the circle and going back into the right. And it goes through the magnet, right? Comes back on out of the left again, goes around the circle, comes back in the right. So it keeps that circuit, right? And it's going out to the left. But the one on the left over here, right? Now, if it's doing the opposite, if this electrons is going out to the right and circling around and come back in to the left, right? Then they're going to be opposing each other. See? Because one's coming out, the one on the right, his electrons are coming out from the left. The one on the left are coming out right. So they collide with each other. That's why it's not going to connect. They're going to push away. But if you turn it where it's going the other way, now they're going in sync and they're coming together. I'll leave it like that, brothers and sisters. Actually show it, but it's maybe not that clear. I'm putting a circle like this. But if not, like I said, you're going to check with me and I'll contact me and I'll explain it better. Okay, now this is what I want. Ron says we really need to pay attention to this. Very close attention to this. Now, what this represents, I didn't show it before, but the proton spin. This spin causes a torque force. That torque force is actually electron. I'm not going to go into that kind of detail because that gets complicated. But the electron is actually the torque of a proton because protons are just spinning neutrons. And once it spins, it produces a torque force. Like you see a gyroscope, once it spins, it stands upright. That's a torque force. If it stops spinning, it just falls down. So when it spins, that torque force is actually an electron. But electron and the proton, they have an attractive force between them. It's not gravitational, it's an attractive force between them. I'm not going to try to explain this force, right? Because that gets a lot more detail. But they have a force, attractive force between them. They call it a charge, positive, negative charge. they have this connect attractive force between them, right? But the proton has to spin, because if that side spins, neutron. Neutrons don't have any electrons. See, but protons do, because protons are spinning neutron. See, neutron, they give it a name. It's neutral, neutron, neutral, right? It doesn't spin, doesn't have an electron. But once once it spins, now it generates torque force, which is electron, right? So we have the proton spin, so it has electron. See? Now that's us. That's us 50,000 years ago. When you spin, that's power. Spin generates power, because discipline. Neutron has no power. The proton does, because it's spinning. See? The more it spins, the more power it has, because it converts energy into power. It's converted, because it has discipline. It's controlling it. It's controlling the energy, so it's turning energy into power. And that power is the force what keeps that electron in place. Controls it. It has to spin to do it. If it becomes neutron, it doesn't have electron, it has no control over it. But spin, it has control. Right? And that's what we're trying to treat you to gain control again, because you lost it. See? But now it's time for you to start spinning again. For the last 500 years, you ain't been spinning. You've been a neutron. Okay? Come on, brothers, sisters here. Okay. Understand that? Okay. I hope you understand. So we're going to move on to those things, explain those things here. Now see here, this is what happened. Remember we was going how fast we was moving to before? Now we start slowing down. In the last 50,000 years, because energy deprivation, because all the energy that used to be here, the Quran tells you that all the energy out there in the universe used to be here, our atmosphere. The cavies tell you something similar. They call it the Big Bang. They say all the energy out there used to be the size of an atom. So if you can believe all the energy in the universe at one time was the size of an atom, the Big Bang, see? If you believe that, if you can believe that, then you shouldn't have any problem believing that it was the size of the Earth. If you thought it was like the size of the atom. What's this? Next level, we go live. What's going on here? Hold on, bro. It's just I got a little problem here. I'm not sure what it is. What is it talking about here? Break my connection here. Next streaming software to go live. Okay, I got some kind of problem here. I'm not sure. Well, I hit an interruption in my Facebook video. Okay. Okay, so let me repeat a couple of things here because I may have an interruption here. As I was saying, well, let me go back to the last page here, just in case. Just in case, brothers and sisters. I don't want you to miss this. See how fast we're spinning. Spinning very fast here. See? Means we had a lot of power. 50,000 years ago, a lot of energy spinning that represents power. The power to control. Say the electrons represents our environment, energy, civilization, control over the environment, right? And a lot of control. But then, as the universe starts expanding, we have less and less energy. So 50,000 years ago, after 76 trillion years of history, we came to the point of energy deprivation where we came to the point where we didn't have, I would start losing control over the environment because we didn't have enough energy to control ourselves. No, well, we didn't get that point yet. But energy deprivation is the point where you start losing control over your creation because you don't have enough energy to maintain it. See, you have power, but your power is diminishing. So we have power, but power is diminishing. That's what I'm trying to show you here. So I hope I'm not confusing anybody. So that's what this represents here. See, we start losing power because we start slowing down and less energy, so slowing down. Start losing power. Okay, so this state we were in 50,000 years ago, begin to start losing power, control over the planet, over our creation. We didn't lose it, we begin to lose it. And this is the process, so that's slowly getting slower and slower and slower. And then 6,000 years ago, it got so bad that we had a scientist called Dr. Yakub, one of the major scientists. He says, well, we don't want to lose control, total control. We don't want to lose total control, right? We have some control. It might be bad control, but we have some control. We don't go total native, right? So that's why I said in the Quran, it says we'll create Adam, make Adam to make milk shed blood, but he'd have rule. We give him rulership. Because we no longer could control, we had lost control by 6,000 years ago, right? We hadn't totally lost control of control yet. See, we're still spinning. We still have a little bit of control. Right? We still haven't lost control yet. We still have power. We have a little bit, so we're still spinning. So we brought this being in, right, that required less energy. That's Caucasians. Adam, they require less energy. They spinning real fast, so they got control. They spinning real fast, they require less energy, but they're not as complex as we are. They're weak, but they require less energy. It's like the difference between a Lamborghini and a Volkswagen Beetle. It takes a lot of money to maintain a Lamborghini. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of money, to maintain, but it takes very little for a Volkswagen Beetle. So if you make the same amount of money, the one that operates the Volkswagen Beetle, he can go about town, he can do all kinds of stuff. The Lamborghini may only be able to get out on the weekends. Because they got overhead, insurance, expensive maintenance, gotta have a garage, all this stuff. Volkswagen Beetle don't need all that. That's what happened. So they had a lot of power. It was weak. And we still had very little power. And 6,000 years ago, we still had some power, little. But see, they had enough power to control the environment. That's when they got the electrons. They got to control electrons now. They pulled them back in. See? And so then they begin to have control over that and over us too. See? Because by them controlling the environment, they control us because we need it to live off the environment. So that's how they started gaining control over us. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. And I show you this mathematically. See? And then And then 600 years ago, we had no control of anything. We wouldn't spend it all. Negro butts, enslavement, persecution, the Holocaust. We had no control. They had total control over us. We wouldn't spend it all. No power. Remember, you spend terms how much power you had. We had no power. We lost all power. 600 years ago, lost all 500 years ago, we lost all power. They had control over the environment. Over this reality. They fake reality brought in, but it's still based on our reality, right? And they had control over it and over us. So we wouldn't spend all. It was neutral. See, that's probably what the Negro come from, right? But anyway, it was neutral. See, but we understand. I'm trying to show you the math behind what happened. See. So that's the state we were when they turned us into Negro butts. We had no power. So they took advantage of us. They took control of us and took us to the Holocaust. The Holocaust for nearly 500 years. Because we was dead. That's what the Bible was talking about. We was dead. Because when the battery is not having any power, it's dead. We had no power. That's why I said we was dead. That's why the Bible calls it dead. We was dead. Had no power or energy. We was dead nation. We had no power. And it says that we had to be resurrected, had to be recharged. And so the only one that could recharge Lazarus, us, was Suleiman. See? But see, Levites, they didn't need that much charging. So it says Elijah could charge them. See, because he charged, it said he raised a widow's son. Elijah was a Levite. He raised a widow's son. He was able to raise them, but nobody could raise Lazarus but Suleiman himself, because they need a big charge, more complicated. See, nobody could do it. Not the 24 scientists, none of them could do it. Only Suleiman could provide a charge. That's the angel. It was locked down. Nobody could break through it. That's your mind that they don't want you to know anything about. They're trying to deceive you on it. But that's your supercharge that you need. See, you get a cell phone, you got some need this charge, some need this charger, because they take different frequencies. They need some more bigger boost than others. So they got different types of chargers. See? So you need a supercharge to wake up Lazarus, because it's dead. See? Okay. So here we get into a little more complicated. I think we're almost close here. Now, let's see here. Okay, see here. Now, this is Elijah coming on the scene, Master Muhammad coming on the scene, starting to give us an energy boost. So now you got some starting to spin, starting to get charged. See? It's starting to charge up. Start spinning again, started coming alive. See? So we're going to call those the Levites. Again, we're going to call those the Levites, Elijah Muhammad charged, right? Okay. I have a little difficulties with this connection here. Look like they want to try to stop this broadcast. They're always doing stuff, but they don't dare try to stop it altogether, because that would be their ass if they did. So let's give it a second, see if this. I think I'm kind of like buffering on the Facebook side. So, okay, well, actually, I include the link. They also have the heart recording that doesn't have this problem. So I'll include both of those interested. Okay. So this is Levites. This is Elijah Muhammad here. Right? See what happened? So now they're spinning. They have power. Power to do what? Start taking control of the environment. That's what Elijah did. He started building a nation. So now the electron, they got control of it now. They didn't have it before, because Europeans had it. They had control of us, but now they start controlling electrons. See, it's spin, they got control of it. They can't have that, because that's taking the wealth back from them, because they had control all the wealth. But now, Elijah starting to control some of the wealth, taking it back from them. You follow, brothers and sisters? See, they spinning now. Elijah Muhammad started putting Levites in the spin. He started to spin again. He's just them, but he started Suleiman spinning too. Because Suleiman be the first one to raise from the dead, because he would be the one, he had to come to Elijah's temple, remember the Messenger Covenant. He would get him spinning, and then he would be the one that would generate enough torque, right, to raise Lazarus. Now watch this carefully. See? Watch this carefully. Now what's happening here? See what's happening here? The devil's now stupid. They're even wicked, but they ain't stupid. They're not as smart as us. They ain't nowhere near as smart as us. They ain't stupid. What do they do? When they catch you spinning like that, the devils, they ain't bother them. We're not talking about the demons now. I'm just trying to tell you about us. See, I'm not talking about the demons in here. What do they do? They pull them out and they put them in a prison. And it's isolated. See, black, see, isolated. See, you put insulate a wire to keep it. See, that's why they put insulation on it, because other wire would go neutral, because it would pull electrons from the atmosphere. So they have to insulate it by putting some rubber or something that resists the protons coming in. See, so because otherwise the wires would pull electrons out of then you still destroy the circuit. That's why they're insulated. That's what's called insulation. So they insulate you because you're spinning, so you don't take their wealth. So they insulate you, put you in a prison where there's no electrons, nothing. So isolate you from everything, so you can't mess up their thing. That's what's going on, brothers and sisters. They're using electric wisdom on you. They got other things there's other physics samples I can use for other things they use, but they're using the electric knowledge. That's called electric wisdom. They're using the wisdom of electricity on you, brothers and sisters, and you don't understand it. I say I'm gonna explain the math. If we get closer, I'm gonna explain to you more in detail. They're using electric wisdom on you to control you. So anyone that's waking up, they end up in a prison or dead. So they can't mess with their control. See? Because they're spinning, so they're isolated. They isolate them, all electrons, everything. They can't take, they put them away, isolate them. Insulate them so they can't take any electrons from anybody. The electrons represent their wealth and everything. Oh, it's I'm offline. This is refresh. What does that mean? So I was offline all that time. Yes, they try. Well, some of you probably missed some of this. If you don't mind, bro, I'm gonna go over a little bit of that time, because that's what it was. On the Facebook page, they hit me offline, but it looks like it's still the same thing right now. I'm gonna go over this last part, then we're gonna end it, brothers and sisters. Go this last part one more time. I'm not sure it's gonna show up here, but like I said, I do have the backup. I have the backup. So I'm quickly go through it. Does it work? What? Okay, there you go. There we go, sisters. Okay, here we go. Says your Facebook user, if you're watching online, I do have a backup. I'll publish that one. If there's, I'm gonna check to see if it's what they're doing here is looks like it's maybe buffering or something. What I showed here was that I was showing you that this was basically the way we were 50,000 years ago. We had control. The electrons represents no, we was losing control. Well, probably I need to just go back a step further. Okay, yeah. Let me go a step further. Okay. This way we're like 50,000 years ago, right? We're spinning, you have power. Neutrons don't have any power because they don't spin. Protons have powers, they spin, torque force. We're spinning. See? So electrons represent the environment, and so we had control of it. Families, our nation, the environment, right? Reality, we had control of it. Spinning very fast, had a lot of power. The spin represents how much power you got. Then what happened? So if it's, we started suffering energy deprivation, I explained that, right? The energy used to be is here. It was here, it's out there now. So of course, it's going to stay energy deprivation for 50,000 years. Didn't have enough energy to maintain that situation right there. So what happened? Then we start losing power. We start slowing down, and as a result, we start losing power, lose control. See, electrons start moving through control of creation. Okay, I'm gonna walk this quickly, brothers, because this I'm not sure what's going on with this. And then 6,000 years ago, we got so bad 6,000 years ago that we had no control at all. I mean, no, we had control, we had power. We're still spinning. See, we're still spinning, but we're spinning very slowly. That means we have very little power. See? So instead of just losing control of our reality altogether, control of civilization altogether, like I say, bad civilization is better than no civilization. Bad water is better than no water. So that's why it says Adam in the Quran that we made Adam and gave him rule, because they rule in our stead. There would be a bad rule, but it'd be better than no rule. They'll make me shed blood, but it's better than no rule at all. Right? So we brought through them. That's the ones in the circle, in the center. That's them, that's Caucasians. And so they spin it very fast. They're weaker, they have less structure, right? They can't take pressure because they built in a form of tension, creating haste, but they have a lot of power. They spin fast. See? As compared to a Volkswagen Beetle and a Lamborghini. See? Because we're the Lamborghini, they're Volkswagen Beetle. So therefore, they don't need as much energy. If we get the same amount of energy, right? Then if you have to maintain a Lamborghini, I mean, you got to use a lot more energy than the Volkswagen Beetle guy. So I mean, he's got more disposable income, so to speak, got internal energy he can use for power. We don't, because all our energy is used just to maintain that Lamborghini in the garage and high insurance and all that stuff that goes with maintenance. So they had power to rule. Well, our power was waning. We haven't lost it yet, and it was waning. Then come 500 years ago, we started spinning all together. Became dead nation. That's what the scripture's talking about, dead. It was dead nation. That's why it calls it dead. And we had no control of anything, not even control of ourselves. They had control of us, and they had no control of us. We did have some power to resist them, but then we had no power to resist them anymore. 500 years ago, no power to resist them anymore. They have total control of the environment and us. See, that's the start of the Holocaust that they try to deny. See, because they was told to submit to them, enslavement. But the Abrahamic covenant talks about two things: enslavement and persecution and affliction. That means it's not included in slavery. I talked about that. I'm not going to that anymore right now. But so that's the situation. We're dead as a nation. Okay, let's go a little further. And then Master Muhammad shows up. See, and we got two groups here. We got the Levites. So Elijah was a Levite. He raised the widow's son. See, but it would take Suleiman to raise Lazarus, because Elijah couldn't raise Lazarus. Nobody could raise Lazarus but Suleiman himself. Right? That's why it's sealed down. His mind is the angel. What you call revelation, that's the mind that he has to be given back to him. That's our software. You're going to upload it in a minute. See? So now you got some active, because Elijah Muhammad activated him. Okay, yep. Lord, they killed me on Facebook. Yeah, they didn't like this. They didn't like this. Anyway, like I said, got the backup sisters. So, so he activated them. See, that's so-called Nation of Islam, right? Under Elijah Muhammad, he activated them. So now they started controlling their environment. See? So now you see electrons, they don't have control of electrons anymore, some of them. Because now the Nation of Islam started controlling their own electrons. They control their own environment, start building a nation, start building their own, right? And that scared them. See, because now these are active. All of us was active. We were still dead. Lazarus was still dead, but Levi's still alive. So they taking back their power. See, because they have power now, they taking back their control. See, and so they had to do something about that. Hope you understand that. See, because they're taking back control. Okay, so what happens here? So you need people like Farrakhan and stuff. They had to bring them on board to put into that. So you know when you have a wire, you have that like plastic or rubber type of stuff. That's insulation. The reason I had that there because the wire needs remember you have electrons. You don't have they take electrons out to keep the current going. But if you leave the wires exposed, it's going to pull electrons from the air, so it's going to neutralize it fast. It's not going to the current not going to last that long. That's why you put insulated, right? So it keeps the electrons from the air atmosphere getting into that wire. See? So what they do is that to get back control, they take it, isolates you, insulates you in prisons where there's no energy, nothing. There's no, you can't control anything. See, there's no environment for you to control it. That's insulation. Keep you from getting control of what they have control of right now. That's what the prison's all about. I'm trying to get the mathematics behind it, brothers and sisters. So now you isolated, insulated. See, you're alive, you're insulated. And the prison are full of Elijah Muhammad's followers, the true ones. Not these clowns that wannabes at Farrakhan, they're mostly demons. See, that's what they do. They insulate them. See, because what Elijah Muhammad is not dead, what he did is not dead. It's just that they insulated those that he gave life to. They put them in prison, isolate them from, so now they keep control of the environment. And we still dead. See, so Lazarus have to raise the rest. But when he raised them, he also puts out the ones in the center that's imprisoned everybody, so they have no power to stop us. That's what Master Muhammad's getting ready to do, put an end to them. See? So they don't have no power to stop us. Because Master Muhammad, he's the judge, he's going to raise Lazarus. Master Muhammad's going to execute it, he's going to execute them, so they have no power to stop us. Hope you understand, bro. Says, I'm going to leave it there for you. And like I said, they killed my Facebook connection. They always doing something. So I got like that backup, and I put it out there so everybody can see. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's it. And make sure. I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. Oh, no. Oh, I forgot something, brothers and sisters. Yeah, I'm going to have to really broadcast the other one. I got this. You see on the left there? That's us dancing in shit. On a shit farm. That's us dancing on the shit farm. That's Negro butts. See, they dancing everything. They don't know they dancing the shit. Shit in the farm. While Masters, he's laying back in his gold mine. He's laying back in his gold mine. See? Let me check some here, boss. I don't know if what does this tell me to do here? Return home dashboard. What's live? Turn home. I bet I mess with this right now. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. I gotta fix this. Anyway. That's the state we're in right now. I talk about this quality. They control the quality of our energy. As long as we stay with them, they control the quality of our energy. They can't control the quantity. They control the quantity of our power, because power is a result of disciplining energy, turn into power. But they can keep you from disciplining your energy. They can they can control how much power you have. They can't control how much energy you have. They control the power because you take discipline to turn energy into power. That's what Elijah Muhammad did. He taught them how to turn energy into power. Discipline. He taught them Islam, not this crap Farrakhan's talking about. Not Sunnism and Scientology. And that way they able to turn energy into power. They had control. People feared them. See? They was building something. You understand? See? So they can control They can't control how much energy you have, but they control the nature of the quality of it. So they have us dance around in $1 million shit farm while they got $1 million worth of gold. $1 million worth of shit farm is worth $1 million worth of $1 million worth of $1 million shit farm, $1 gold, $1 worth of gold. It's worth the same thing. Both are worth $1 million. But one, the quality is different. So if they fix it so you can't buy nothing but, it's like back when they were redlining stuff, they said, well, you couldn't buy it. They determined what you could buy. You can't buy, but you can't buy it. So it's the only thing they say, the only thing we'll sell you is a pork farm. That's all you could buy. That's all they will sell you. So they control the quality of what you, even though you had $1 million, the best you can buy is a $1 million pork farm or a $1 million shit farm. That's the only thing we'll sell you. So it's still worth $1 million. But with the shit farm, the quality was shit. See? While they got to go. That's a symbiotic relationship that we're dealing with here in America. Because as long as you stay here, they're going to control the quality. They won't give you the worst because we have a recycling thing in this world, right? Food turns into shit, then shit is turned back into food. What do you think fertilizer stuff is? Food turns into shit, and shit turns back into food. So it's a cycle. See, you eat the food, you turn into shit. Right, the shit goes into the ground, right, and the ground that's nutrients built, and they plant seeds in the ground, and the seeds use that nutrients, that shit, everything to grow to produce more food. It's recycling, bro, and since that's where it works. Oversimplification, that's where it works. Okay, let's look at this book better. I forgot about this one, brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. See this right here? Symbiotic relationship. That's our relationship here in America. See? They take the gold and turn it into shit. We turn the shit back into gold. They turn it back into shit. We turn it back into gold. They keep the gold. We keep the shit. And some of us happy because we're Negro bust. We happy with that. See, I'm not talking about the demons here. I'm not talking about demons. I'm talking about us. See, because we live in ghetto and everything else, we partying and we're not turning energy into in the power because we're partying, drinking, smoking, vaping, everything else. So we have no power, and we around there clowning and watching NBA and we happy, all that kind of stuff. Living in a shit farm, and we turn the shit into gold. We go and work McDonald's and slave McDonald's and Burger King and Walmart, all that kind of stuff to turn that shit into gold for them. They got the gold, you got the shit. That's where it's been, always gonna be here because they control the nature, the quality of our energy. And they also control your power because they telling you, deceiving you, telling you individual, you got to do your own thing. You ain't got to smoke, let's drink, let's party. So therefore you have no power. So you're still dancing shit, producing gold for them. I think I'm gonna leave it there, bro. So if you don't get that, you never get anything. I think that's it. It is it. Brothers and sisters. You're gonna wake up in a minute. You're gonna wake up in a minute, brothers and sisters. Before we shut down, I say shut up. Before we shut down, remember the hard costs, brothers and sisters. Don't let them forget, don't let them tell you about when they hit you with that slavery stuff. Say, hey, wait a minute, hold it. Tell me how slavery got to do with burning us, raping us, murdering us, disemboweling us, castrating us. Tell us how dismembering us. Tell us how making us eat shit and everything. Tell us how that in the definition of slavery. Show me. Google it. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there, brothers and sisters. First, let me, my audio audience, thank you for listening. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Fire Zone out. And to my video audience, thank you for listening. I know my Facebook audience, they shut that down, but I had to back up. So I'm going to republish it. Right? So I'm just looking for it. It'll be on Facebook. Okay, and also going to be on YouTube. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.